Exhale, walk or jump to your hands. We were already up, so
everybody tapped out.
Yeah, you can walk to do this. I do this just because I've been doing them for so long. So I come up.
Oh my God.
Inhale here, exhale down here. Chaturanga, or you could just do this.
My boobs are falling in.
It'll do that in your...
We're good to go.
It's a cup by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Nice.
Jason makes the best coffee. Cheers.
does
Thanks
pretty
for
good,
being
yes.
here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so
love you.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, we're excited to be back with another episode of the Killing Time Experience. Felissa Rose, I'm your co-host, the Big Schwag, Brett Wagner. Jason, our producer, is always with Frankie over there in the cave, we like to call it.
She's eyeing me down. This blueberry donut is phenomenal.
And I'm Pam's coffee.
And of course, we are joined. Who are we joined with today, Felissa?
We are joined by someone I just love so much. You can look into those big, beautiful eyes and see that dear soul. You are one of my favorite people.
Oh, you're one of my favorite people since I've met you, Felissa.
I love you, Jimmy. Not only is he such an extraordinary talent, but he's really an extraordinary human being. And talk about like experiencing life. Ooh, I'm getting hot and crying. Talk about experiencing life and going deep. It's my friend, James Duval.
Or on his birth certificate, James Edward Duval.
That is correct, yes.
Yes. I went deep to find that.
That's Brett's idea of going deep. It's saying his middle name.
It is.
I'm like, what do you want people to think about after they have a moment with you?
I want them to feel at peace. I want them to feel kind of centered and happy after a moment with me. Even if just for that moment, forget about everything else and live in that moment. Yeah. That's what I hope. That's what I hope for all of us,
Well,
really.
and I think that is the case. But we really, a couple weeks ago, got to bond over tacos in Evansville, Indiana.
What a great trip that was,
That was
too,
a great
actually.
trip.
Thank you for helping. Like, the way it starts, sometimes, you know, as you know, when you go to shows, it's like you're waiting to see your friends or meet the people when you get there. But sometimes when you're at the airport, that's where you can make a connection. And that's where Brett and I saw each other. Just went, Jimmy, I was like, Brett! And boom, we like just bonded at the airport the whole way over and then the whole weekend. And that's, I mean, I think that's also one of the joys of not just making movies and being an actor, doing the shows, but meeting people that you admire. That you know, you guys, because you guys are icons, and becoming friends with you guys, and so it's very much for me to be on. It doesn't matter what side of the table I'm on. I'm so happy to be there and be meeting you and meeting all my favorite actors and icons that I grew up loving. So for me, it's kind of wild to be on the other side of the table.
Jimmy,
I don't
everybody
believe that
loves
sometimes.
you. Your resume is spectacular. Can we talk about everything? Like, let's go from the beginning. I mean, was it Doom Generation?
It was,
that
actually
the beginning?
That was one of the first movies I had actually met. So I was doing a little bit of theater, and believe it or not, I had done extra work a couple times in high school. I got my dad to get me a work permit, and so I remember I used to say this to Greg Araki, who's the first director I started really working with. I'm like, you know, I worked with John Waters first, and I was an extra in Crybaby.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing!
Yeah, so they shot the whole thing in Maryland, Baltimore, but they had to do reshoots here, and I was still a senior in high school. I'm like, oh, John Waters and the Johnny Depp movie, and they need extras over the weekend.
Ricky Lake.
Yeah, Ricky Lake and Tracy Lords and Iggy
Lords.
Pop, and like so we were just kind of like wow, and so I we went up and signed up for the actual work, got it, and spent the weekend on of course on a set like that you're 150 extras, so you never meet Johnny Depp, you never meet John Waters, but you're on set with them,
and you can see them.
Oh yeah,
They're
like they're
hanging
far
out.
away,
Yeah,
but it was a pretty amazing experience, and I did think I wanted to be an actor, and I moved to Hollywood with the specific intention of being an actor when I was 18. Maybe 6 months after that, and I'd happened to be frequenting this cafe, and I met this, but I saw this other, what I thought was a kid all the time, and I'm like thinking, this is this is why I love Hollywood. Look at this kid, he's like doing his homework after school, studying. Every time I come in here, I'm directionless, loitering, drifting, trying to figure out what I'm doing.
Loiterer.
Yeah, and we can cohabitate and coexist peacefully in the same place. I really love Hollywood. I really, because I was still kind of taking it in. And one day after about 2-3 months, when I was out I was job hunting, and the kid comes up and he's just like, "Hey, I make these little no-budget films. I'm a filmmaker, writer, director. My name's Greg Araki, and you actually have an interesting look. You'd be great for one of the characters. I don't know if you'd be interested in coming in and auditioning for the role." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I would love to." So he sends me the script, and I read it. And that's, to be honest, the first screenplay I'd ever read. And it was for the movie Totally Fucked Up that we did. And I was honestly so kind of moved and enamored by it. And having an experience of doing a little bit of theater, when I read the character, it just spoke to me. As you know, as actors, you read a character and it speaks to you. I'm like, I have to play this. I have to do this. And I remember going in and auditioning for the best friend. I'm like, okay. So I went into audition, and then all of a sudden they gave me the role, and I was reading with the other actors. And I thought, okay, this is great. Like, this is another lead role. I mean, I really love that other character a little bit more. I identify with more, but beggars can't be choosers. This is what I'm going to play, and I'm going to do my best. So I remember doing that, reading that with all the actors for about 3 hours. Then I get a call. It's an answering machine back in, the early 90s. So get this call, and it's Andrea Sperling, the producer, like, "Jimmy, Gregor and I were actually talking, and we were wondering if you can come in and read for the other character of Andy," which is the character that I identified with. So I never said anything, and they just seemed to, catch it on this whole other psychic level. And I think for me, that was also a signpost pointing me in the right direction. So I went in and auditioned for that. They gave me the part. And then I started reading with all the other actors, and we ended up shooting that movie over, I want to say 6 or 8 months for about $20,000. Sometimes we'd show up to shoot and we'd get kicked out of the location. So we couldn't shoot anything, and we had to wait for everyone to get together another week or two and finish shooting. And we shot the whole first movie like that. So I didn't know what was going to happen. It was non-union. It was really tiny. And it got in Toronto, and then it got into Sundance, and it really did. A movie actually before that Greg had done, The Living End, had just come out, and it exploded in the queer new wave of Sundance. And so that, I remember saying I had a movie at Sundance to agents. They're like, "What's that? What's Sundance?" And I'm thinking, this is going to be tough.
Oh,
I had no idea what it was. And I'm just very, I count my blessings as being very fortunate. The experience of working with all the young actors that he had that were 18, 19, at a time when everyone was extremely homophobic and making kind of this queer film. He was just moved by the fact that we weren't, seeming to be affected by any of that. And that inspired him for the first time about kids of a new generation, being able to see beyond the homophobia that was rampant in the 80s, and the AIDS, which made it even worse in the 80s. And we were still really kind of coming out of that.
But you want to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. It's called Ujjayi breathing. And then you take a couple minutes here, learn to relax. Relax your shoulders, relax your neck. Feeling any tension in your body. And on the exhale,
I'm gonna fall over.
let it pass. Yeah. And then we'll do a truncated version. Then inhale, exhale. On the exhale, on the inhale, fill your lungs to the base. On the exhale, let your hands drop, linking breathing and movement together. Again, relaxing. Notice if you have tension in your shoulders, your arms, your neck. Then on the next deep, full inhale, come all the way up to standing. Raise your arms towards the sky, rolling your shoulders back. Holding your hands open like this, yeah. This is called moon pose, or Chandrasana would be the Sanskrit word for that. This is being receptive to not just this day, but this practice. Not a push-up position, called plank. Here, if you can.
You're just a gifted, talented artist. I think some people are just born and they have this fluid way of like, I can act, I can paint, and you really are that person. And that's why you have this magical glow about you, because you really lead with your heart. And I love your emotional life. I wanted to know, where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Los Angeles.
Oh, you
Covina.
did? Okay.
Yeah, Covina for a little while. Yeah, so I moved from Detroit to, I want to say, I think we were in Tucson until I was about 1.5 years.
Oh, okay.
And then we moved here. I don't remember any of it. And then we moved here when I was about a year and a half, and my sister was born in Redondo Beach, and I've been here pretty much since then. And it was in high school that I moved in with my father to Covina because my parents split up when I was very, very young, and I stayed in the South Bay as long as I could, and living by the ocean, and I still have an affinity for the South Bay area. Yeah, I moved in with my father and then started I think I went to like 5 different high schools. So this moving around constantly and losing your friends and trying to find your place. And while you're trying to figure out who you are, I think now that I reflect back upon it, probably has a lot to do with me being an actor and being able to go from set to set and change my personality or character, because I had to change who I was from school to school just to avoid getting picked on or beat up or just trying to fit in. So you're putting on all these different hats, trying to figure out who you are. And I think all of us do this. And, when we're young, we're trying to figure, so I'm this kind of guy. No, I'm this kind of guy. No, I think I'm going to try to be this for a while. Yeah. It's almost like that movie I really love, Submarine. He's like, I even tried a brief out phase, but nothing stuck.
That is, I never heard it put that way. And that makes so much sense. I know I'm a people pleaser, and I have always, especially in school years, tried to
fit in.
And that's how we are. Were you like, we talk about insecurities a lot. Did you feel ever like...
Oh, I was so insecure.
Really?
I was extremely insecure. And it was tough for me to go. I think for me, what was tough was once I moved and had this history in the past with all the friends that I had and had to give that up and meet other people who were talking about their past. Oh, remember when junior high we did this and we did this, and I didn't have those memories with any of those people. I really felt separated from them.
A little disconnected.
Yeah.
I felt that way too. And that's really hard. And then your whole life you feel like you're playing this game of like trying to connect and be close. And it's a hard, look, navigating life, we all know,
it's
one
tough.
day at a time. But then you meet your good friends and you feel...
Then it changes. It becomes the reverse.
Doom Generation comes out. She loves the movie. I love the movie. Probably a lot of good publicity for you at the moment. How did you deal with it? I mean, that was probably one of your first big movies, correct?
It was my first big movie. I remember we were doing it. It's like, this is like... Or SAG now. This is great. It's like SAG and 35 millimeters, like a full crew. And it was, I think for both Greg and I, it was a big adjustment. It was a joy because you're just jumping into a much larger sandbox that you get to play with. But it was an interesting thing because we were so used to shooting just, so to give you an example, when I did the first movie with Totally Fucked Up, Greg shot everything. So I thought I didn't know what a director of photography was. I'm like, what do you mean the director doesn't film everything? I thought the director was the one who's like, no, those are two completely different roles. But it's when you're poor, it's just, you're gonna have to rely on that. And, I think it was magical to go from something small to something bigger and to grow, I think, with the director at the same time. So at this point, we'd been friends and known each other for a few years. So growing and going on this adventure together, definitely I did not feel as insecure because I wasn't as alone.
Yeah.
I was overwhelmed by the size of the production because it was just so much bigger. And I was very overwhelmed by the reception of going. And not what you expected. Not what I expected at all, and I didn't know how to respond.
And how did you handle it? Like, what do you remember those moments where, because it does become a bit like overwhelming and suddenly you're like, what,
it scared me. The whole thing scared me,
because
to
you're
be
an
honest.
artist.
Yeah.
So we're not prepared for that sort of
especially not
notoriety.
At that age, at 21 and
How old
22.
were you? 21?
21.
21, yeah.
And I remember I did want, I figured, I want to be big and I want this and I want to be successful. And then so for another example, after I did Independence Day, I was still waitering in a restaurant and I was getting ready to do another film with Greg Nowhere and waiting for Doom to play it. So we just filmed it in 94. I got the job and went in the fall. Because I was working at a pool hall before, but the great earthquake of 94 closed it down.
That's right, Northridge earthquake.
So that happened on the second day of filming Doom Generation.
Oh
so,
my
We
gosh.
talked about this.
Yeah, so that was a whole other story in itself that you're filming during aftershocks and the whole city's laid flat.
And you had to go to work. It was not like, hey, we're taking the day off. He was telling me you have to show up.
Jonathan Sheck, who played Xavier, picked me up every day. So
he's such a good actor.
He's
a beautiful person.
Beautiful person too, and he would come pick me up every day. I mean, we just bonded. Yeah. And he picked me up right after the earthquake. And it's like, and I remember my girlfriend at the time was like, if you leave, we're going to break up. I'm like, if I don't leave, I'm going to get sued. I'm under contract. I got to go. So do what you need to do, but I'm not getting sued. And this is my life dream. I'm going to do, and I would hope that you support that. And
did she?
She didn't. I mean, we had a lot of problems, but she didn't break up with me because of that. So,
Phew.
But yeah. So I remember going with Jonathan, and we showed up to set, and the whole city was laid flat, and of course nobody was there. It was the day we were supposed to film with Perry Farrell. So we get back, we kind of drive around, and this was 6:30 in the morning. Drive around, he drops me off at about 8, and about 9:30 I get a page because we didn't have cell phones, and I'm like thinking, I know what that is. So, and I don't have a phone, so I have to walk all the way down my hill, walk to the phone. All right, Jimmy, generators powered up, be on set at 11. Like, okay, here we go. All right, honey, I hate to tell you this, but I got to go back to work. So he picks me up, and that for the rest of the shoot, shooting through aftershocks and trying to get power where there's no electricity and gas leaks everywhere. Oh. So that was a really, really wild experience. And we had done the movie, and it was a really actually tough, it was a very intense, tough shoot for everybody involved. I think it was 28 days, 6-day weeks. After the first week, it's all nights during the winter. So it was cold and freezing and long. And I just remember being so happy to be done with the movie and looking forward to it coming out and working in the restaurant. And the owner comes over and says, Jimmy, I have this very big Hollywood director. They come to your table. I want you to take care of them. I'm like, Jackie, look, I'm not here to smooth with your customers. All right, I'm not a great waiter, but as long as I'm here, I want to do the best that I can. I want to be the best waiter that I can be. So let me focus on that because I'm not a good waiter. I'm learning it. Because I was a busboy bread maker before that and just got somehow promoted. And
I love you.
So I remember them coming up and it's like, oh, so you're an actor? And I'm like, well, yeah, how do you know? And he's like, well, you have that totally fucked up poster on the door. I'm like, yeah, but that movie's not out. And he's like, well, I saw it at Sundance. I saw Living Innocence. I love that filmmaker, Greg Rock. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. What are you doing? Well, so I did this other movie, Doom Generation, with us. It's our first big movie. It's going to be playing at Sundance again. So this was December 94. I'm like, it's playing Sundance next month. Maybe I'll see you there. So he goes, okay. So him and Dean come in a couple times and they're very, very friendly enough and go to Sundance, and it's Doom Generation, and it's a pretty wild movie, even still now to those standards. And I remember being at the top, and it's very vividly being at the Egyptian Theater, and they're going down to do the Q&A. And as we're walking down, I get this tap on the shoulder at the top of the theater and in the seat, and it's rolling. He's looking at me and he just goes, Jimmy, oh my God. I'm like, well, mark him off the list. I won't be working with him again. I think I just scared him away. And
we'll give him his last name so folks know.
Roland Emmerich.
That's
he directed Stargate.
Yeah, Roland Emmerich.
And Universal Soldier at that point. And so I go back to LA, and then he doesn't come in for 2-3 weeks. I'm like, okay, well, par for the course. I prepped myself for this. I'm proud of the movies I make. I understand if they scare people a little bit, then I'm not the right guy to be working with you. But this is what I do. And then about 3 weeks later, he comes in with Dean Devlin. He's like, oh, Jimmy, that movie was great. Sorry we've been out of touch. We had to go to Mexico right afterwards. And so Dean and I just wrote this little movie, Independence Day. In fact, we were talking, what are you doing this summer? You'd be great for a little part. And I was like, well, actually, I'm doing another movie with the same director, Greg, called Nowhere, that he wrote for me, but maybe we could work them both out. So I kept my job as a waiter up until June. And I auditioned for the movie officially, and then the offer comes, and I got offered it, and it's conflicting with Nowhere, with Greg's movie, exact same dates. And I'm like, I'm going to have to choose, and I'm going to have to choose Greg's.
That's integrity, because that's,
and I felt that was just, I just felt very important. I wouldn't be an actor if it wasn't for him.
That's important.
And I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for him. So I owe him that. And I want to pay him back in any way that I can. So then they start going back and forth, and the studio does not want me because they never heard of me. And they definitely didn't want the kid from Doom Generation. With Greg and Roland directly on the phone, they worked it out. So which is what happened. I shot a week in LA and Nowhere. Then I took my earrings out, changed the part, flew to Utah, shot a week on Independence Day, put my earrings back in, changed my part, flew back to LA, flew Nowhere. And I did this a couple of times. And then on the after the second trip to Utah, wrapped out Utah, came back to LA, wrapped out Nowhere, and then was still 2 months on Independence Day. And coincidentally, I also had a bunch of tickets, so I had to turn myself in and spend a week in county jail before I went back to Independence Day for being poor. So I had these warrants because I didn't pay these tickets because I didn't have any money. This is a good way to start off too. We call this cat and cow pose. This is really good for your back. Yeah. So you want to have your hands, and see if you can have it so your middle fingers are pointing forward, parallel with the side edges of your mat. And your hands are roughly underneath your shoulders, and then we'll inhale, we'll look up and bend spine in. Exhale. See if you can make a mountain like it. And then we just go back and forth until it feels good. Inhale. And then exhale, tucking your tailbone under. So what I'll do is, if you watch, I'll lift my knees up, going back onto my toes. Oh man. If you can do this, this would be the first downward dog. Eventually, which don't worry about, your heels will touch like mine. Which, you know, I've been doing this for 25 years. So good. And then here, what you're going to do is, if you can bring your elbows in, see if you can just balance your body. Are you more on the left? Are you more on the right? Are you more in the front than you are on the back?
I love that. And it's like being kind to yourself.
It's exactly
what it is. You don't want
to
hurt yourself. How are you doing, Brett? You okay?
Oh, yeah.
Because I'd come from making these little movies that meant so much.
Yeah.
And I've since learned a lot since then, and I don't regret this, but that's where my heart was. I wanted to make these little no-budget movies that, like, I wanted independent movies in the 90s were so groundbreaking, and I just wanted, even though it was great to get paid a lot of money, it was great that people knew me now, I realized that that's not what I was looking for. I wanted to be a part of stories that moved me, which is what that first movie did. I want to read something and it make me feel the same way we feel when we watch movies and hear music, to be better people, to go that much further, to learn how to spread our wings and fly, because for whatever reason we weren't. And it's through these stories and through books and movies and music. I'm teared up, but honestly, that's what drove me and inspired me, and that's all I ever wanted to do. And I felt so afraid that these big movies were not that. They were just devoid of that.
But you still did a few more big movies.
Oh yeah, I wasn't adverse to making that money. It's just, I was like,
but I love that if you listen to all those words
100%.
you just said.
Yes.
This is a person who really takes in, sorry that I'm talking about you in front of you.
No,
but you take in the true experience, because it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So what you were actually doing was really delving into that true experience of, what does your heart feel? What is your soul asking for? I know you ask those questions. I know you go there. And that's why you're moved emotionally, because that's what we're here for. We're all creators.
all of us.
Yeah. And we're all just asking to be filled with, music, love, food. Not necessarily, we know commerce makes the world go round, and we need money to eat and survive. But it's like, but to sell your soul?
Yeah, I'm more concerned because I had a problem connecting, moving around. So I became an actor so I could connect with the people that were in front of me, with the stories, with the world around me, with things I wasn't familiar with, the things I didn't think other people were. And I still feel this way. If we think about where we're at now, we've never been more divided. We need to. Can I cuss on this?
You can do whatever you want.
We fucking need to be connecting. And that is, connection is what life is about. It's what our art is. It's what every fucking thing we do is about connecting. And so we're living in a disconnected time. And so it's never been more important, I think,
Jim?
to
What do we
connect.
do?
We continue doing the things that we are doing now to make movies and tell stories that connect not just us with other people, but them with each other. And this is what we just continue doing, what we're doing. Simply that. And we don't let them stop us from doing this.
See, and folks go, wow, this is you. This is why I like hanging out with you. I think this is why my wife loves you to death. I know this is why she loves you. You're an honest guy. You could have, listen, with Gone in 60 Seconds, some of these other movies that you did were big hits with big stars. You could have gone off the deep end. You could have been hanging out at, not that you weren't hanging out at Jones and some of the other places I worked,
I did, but
you could have gone off the deep end.
You live life truly to your heart's content and to honesty. Honesty, being real, being authentic. You're synonymous with authenticity.
Honestly, since I was a young child, it's all I knew. I just refused to It's something my uncle said to me one time. He's like, James, your nerves are on the outside of your skin. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, you feel everything. You're so sensitive. You just feel it. You feel things other people don't feel. I'm like, well, I refuse to believe that. I just allow myself to feel the things you don't allow yourself to, that we all feel. For some reason, I don't know if it's a severe head injury that I had or the 2 severe head injuries I had when I was a child.
Did you? What happened?
I fell out of a tree when I was 6 and fractured my skull, and the pressure blew my ear out and I bled to my feet and spent 6 days in a coma, but I came out of it like when I was 6. So I think if I would have been older with a harder head, I would probably not survive that. So that was the first one. And the second one, I dropped the metal garage door on my head 6 months later.
Sir.
But yeah, I know everybody else, including my teachers, were like, oh, so that's what happened to you. But, I think since I was a child, especially now as an actor, and I can say this with confidence, and I kind of figured this out about 10 years ago, trying to figure out why I was delve deeper into why I was doing what I was doing. And I remember I had just lost one of my animals, my dog. And when I lost her, I didn't cry. Like, I howled. Like, it was so primal and so deep and so painful, unlike anything I'd ever experienced. And all my friends were there, and they took me to the bar and we started drinking. And I just remember I wasn't crying. I was just howling. It just hurt so much. And I felt bad. I was like, I'm so sorry that I'm putting this on you guys. And I'm like, no, it's okay. But then for the next 2-3 weeks, every time they went out to get a drink or did something, they did not call me. And they did not invite me, and they did not include me in it. And I realized pretty early on, I did not get offended. It wasn't because they didn't love me. It's because they didn't know how to take care of me, because I was so freaking hurt. And then I remembered this, and that proved to me what the magic of what we do is. So, and I remember my friend saying this to me. He's like, Jimmy, I wish I could feel like you feel. I wish I could feel. I'm like, my first reaction is, no, you don't. Be careful what you wish for. And then I took it back. I'm like, but you do feel what I feel. We all do. You just don't know how to allow yourself. You could give yourself the courage to feel that. And so when we make movies as actors, or we make music, or we tell these stories, and they're sitting in a theater with 500 people, and they're crying next to someone that they don't know, we've given them the allowance to feel that. And if it's nowhere else in their lives that they experience that, they experience that when they're watching that in that moment next to 500 strangers. They can all come out. And if that's the only time that come out, then our job is done. We did it.
I'm a mess.
Wow.
And that's how I see that.
Love this man so much.
Yes.
Like, I'm sorry.
It's good. No,
Thanks for
don't.
letting me.
Just simply lift your head, and that gives you the stretch here in the spine and then down here. And eventually, so I'll show you eventually what we work off to, and then what ends up being the classes. Since we'll hold poses for the first 15 minutes, but eventually it's the upward dog and the downward dog here. And then if I were to flow through, if you want to try flowing through, with inhale, fill your lungs to the breath. Exhale, walk or jump to your hands. You're already up, so
Everybody tapped out.
Yeah, you can walk to do this. I do this just because I've been doing them for so long. So I come up,
Oh my God.
inhale here,
my
exhale
Lord.
down here, inhale all the way up.
That I can do.
Yes, exhale, we come back down. Then inhale, exhale, step back or jump back, and repeat that chaturanga, or you could just do this.
You did a movie that was, I don't want to say it's a cult classic, but Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
Which is so fun. And I got to, in Evansville, we got to experience a lot of those Donnie Darko fans.
Oh, it's incredible.
Talk about the
Oh my
movie.
gosh, and that was so cool. Did you see the big?
The
It's still one of my favorite things I've ever seen. I can't believe that was made of paper.
Talk
mache.
about that experience of shooting that movie and the lasting impression it's made on folks.
Well, it was wild.
huge.
The whole story came about because at this juncture in my career, I'd already gotten parts that I thought I wanted to play, and the scripts weren't great. So the common question you always get asked as an actor is, what's your dream role? What's your ideal role? And I'm like, well, I used to, that's not a really valid question for me anymore, because I could tell you I want to play this character. I tell you I want to do this story, and you're going to give me the script, and it's going to be fucking horrible and I don't want to do it. Then you're going to give me another script and you're going to tell me this character that I'm not interested in playing, read it. And I'm going to read it. And after I'm done, there's nothing else in the world that I want to do than play this character. So it's not about the character I want to play. It's the quality of the story and the script I'm given. So I'm not also an A-lister even then. So I didn't have that kind of power. So, and I'm still approach this now. So who are my favorite actors that I want to work with? What are they doing? Let's see what they're doing and let's attach myself to something they're doing.
Who are they? Who are some of yours?
Well, right now, I mean, there's so many. So what do you do next? Well, I just saw Rushmore. I love it. Get me a movie with Jason Schwartzman. Fucking love this guy. Anything he does, and Wes Anderson, like I'm in. And okay, so you got this audition, not Jake, excuse me. That's coming in a minute.
I know, I was going to say, that's one of my favorite movies.
Jason is doing a movie called Donnie Darko, playing Donnie Darko. Here's your audition. So I went and auditioned. When I auditioned for the movie, Jason Schwartzman was cast as Donnie Darko. And it was written as 6 feet tall and blonde. And so I'm thinking, well, that's 2 strikes against me. But the thing that got me about that script is when I read it, it's the first thing I'd read, and I loved Twilight Zone growing up, the original Rod Serling. And I love the 80s one, but it just didn't have the same magic. None of the remakes have had the same magic. So when I read Donnie Darko, the first thought I had was, wow, here's someone who just did the Twilight Zone properly. This is a proper Twilight, modern day Twilight Zone. That's exactly my impression of it. So I went in and auditioned. I remember they're going, so do you have any questions? And I was like, actually, no. I just want you guys to know one thing. I totally get it. Let's go. And I think at the end they said that I was the only one who came in who understood the script. But that's, one, because I read it 6 or 7 times going, wait a minute, what's this? And, as an actor, you have to understand the material you're doing, even if no one else does. So
and you're smart and you're being true and you want to put it out there. I know, I get it. Like, why are we afraid? We run from fear instead of being an actor and going in there and saying, yes.
And well, that's what I found.
You have to champion you.
Yes. Yeah. And through acting, if it was nowhere else, that's where I found my courage. And it crossed over to every other aspect of my life. But having the courage in acting to do this gave me the courage to do this in all the other aspects of my life. So I put myself out there. And I could have went, no, I'm 6 feet, not blonde. So I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to the audition. And I used to do stuff like that.
Right.
I did that with Armageddon, which I never would have got anyways because Ben Affleck. I remember getting it and getting the script and like, I'm not right for this part. Like, I'm not even going in for that. And I did. I would do that. I'm not even going in for it because I'm not right. I'm just not doing it.
But you never know, like, then there's another role.
Yeah,
there.
now I do this. So this is when I was younger. So I was
we didn't think about that. I was the same way. I was like, oh, I'm not tall and blonde.
Yeah, and that's that fear and insecurity getting the better of me. And so when I kind of was just like, no, I'm going to do this with Donnie Darko because I love the script. I don't care if I don't get it. I'm going to go in there and tell them I know what their script is about. Yeah. And then I got the part. Next thing I know, I got this movie. They're like, you got the part for Donnie Darko. So I'm thinking, okay, this is great. Things that I want are falling in my lap and that I'm pursuing and I'm getting them. Like, okay, we just lost Jason Schwartzman. I'm like, okay, well, that's the whole reason I'm here. I mean, I do love the script, so it's not a total loss. And then I remember them just going, but right afterwards, they go, oh, but we got this really great actor kid, Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm like, wait a minute, from October Skies. And they go, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I have that script. I was too old for it. So I didn't get to audition for it, but I read it and loved the movie. And he was phenomenal in that movie. Wow. I'm excited to be working with this actor playing Donnie Darko because I'm super jazzed about this movie again. Super jazzed. Because his performance, it was just so different. Like it's just apples and oranges, those two actors. And he came on set and the first scene we shot was in the golf course when he's just like looking down like rabbit suit, and I was just, wow, man, you're freaking me out. And I remember shooting that first scene with him and I just walked up to Jake at the end of it. First scene was like, I mean, you are Donnie Darko. I can't imagine anyone else but you being Donnie Darko.
James Duval, make a little noise for the man
so
right there.
Much. You are just
thank you for coming on.
I'm sorry, you are.
Great.
So we all practice yoga. When I do dishes and I'm like, okay, and then try this and it's fine and try it there. That's yoga.
Well, we're gonna see how that translates.
So it's all your movement. It's all like
it's being aware of what you're doing.
Picking up your.
So you for instance, in yoga or working out or other things in life, you always hear people, I tore this muscle. I pushed it too far. When you're doing yoga, you get so in tune with your body, you know when you're pushing it too far, because that's now considered ego. Your ego's getting away. Well, I'm pushing it far. No, but I should be able to, and I'm strong enough. And you tear your muscle, or you hurt yourself. You hurt yourself because your ego told you to push further than your body told me. So, yeah, we learn to listen to our bodies. So that communication is the yoga, the joining to yoke.
All right, folks. Hey. This has been the Killing Time Experience. Felissa Rose, Jason, the producer. I'm the Big Schwag. That's James Duval.